Today we're looking at some late 1990s Compaq enterprise gear. A Compaq ProLiant PL800 sporting a Pentium 3 processor inside. We'll see if we can get this thing fired up, get a hard drive inside of it. We may or may not set some stuff on fire in the process. And finally get Windows 2000 running on it. Then we'll move our attention to a Compaq ProLiant storage system UE disk shelf. Fire this thing up, learn a little bit about it, and see if we can get Windows 2000 to see some drives inside. Let's get into it. On the bench today, we're looking at this very large Compaq ProLiant Enterprise rack mountable server. Specifically, it is a PL800 6/500, which I believe means it has a Pentium 3 inside running at 500 megahertz. It can be a little confusing to get some concrete information on this ProLiant PL800 line of machines. I'm also just assuming PL stands for ProLiant. Let me know if I'm wrong there. The PL800, as best I can tell, came out in the late 90s and started with a Pentium Pro inside, moved on to Pentium 2. I'll show you some articles. And finally, we've got a Pentium 3 in here. When I bought this on eBay, I thought it was a Pentium 2 machine. That's why I got this one. I already have a couple DL380s, the original gen of the Compaq servers that HP took over. And those are Pentium 3s, so I was kind of excited to have a Pentium 2, but I think we have another Pentium 3 unit. And there was even a sticker that said Pentium 2 on the front. The eBay seller also thought it was a Pentium 2. It's kind of hard to tell. When I'm looking through scans of old magazines, I really don't see a lot about PL800, but I see ProLiant 800s. They had a tower version, and this ad is from InfoWorld, March 31st, 1997. It's looking like it would have had a Pentium Pro inside at this time, and of course it's the tower version. And Compaq sent this all over the place. Every single hit from 1997 for the term ProLiant 800. You find that exact same ad, so they had a pretty big ad budget for this thing, I guess. This is a PC Mag ad from May 26th of 1998, and we get a little closer to the machine I've got on the bench here. It's saying it's a ProLiant 800 and 850R. I think Compaq used R in the rack mount version. They would have desk side and rack mount versions of a lot of their enterprise machines. And this thing in 1998 is still sporting a Pentium Pro and a 32 megabyte hard drive, and it would have set you back $3,200. Move forward to 1999, this is an InfoWorld March 29th ad, and we've got the ProLiant 800 sporting the Pentium 2 finally, and look at that price difference, $3,200, and a year or two later, $1,500 for a much better processor. Prices and processors were just exploding at this time in the early 2000s, late 90s. And Compaq would like to ask you, where is it written that performance and price can't coexist? And then finally, I found a scrape from August 1st, 2003 of Compaq's website, and I think the HP acquisition happened in 2002, so they still had the Compaq branding everywhere. Of course, it's hard to merge two big companies like that. And I think this is the tower version of the exact model we've got on the bench. It's a 6500, just like my asset tag says. It's saying Pentium 3 500 megahertz processors. So this is all to say it's a little hard to find information about these PL 800s, but I think I've got the Pentium 3 version. So the first thing we're going to do is open this thing up, make sure it's still safe to turn on. I have been in here before. It originally came with this Colorado 5 gig tape drive, but it was just sort of flopping around in there causing problems. In a Patreon video, I opened it up and pulled it out. I don't think I turned it on. Let me double check. I did not. I didn't think I did. So I've never turned this on. I don't know if it works. Hopefully it does. One of the best things about recording everything I do is that when I forget what I've done, I can go watch the footage. I would like to try out this tape drive. It looks like it's in really good physical shape anyway, but I don't have any tapes. I just ordered some of these 5 gig Travon, whatever that's called. And hopefully, oh, it's right there. Travon, how do you say that? Traven. Anyway, hopefully they get here in time before I'm done with this video, and we'll try to fire this up. So we're going to get in here, take a look, and try to get an operating system on it. Against my best judgment, I think I'm going to try Windows NT again. Took me 3 videos to get that on a machine last time I tried, but I think I've got some tricks up my sleeves this time. We'll have to figure out the hard drive situation. In here is a hard drive bay, and I don't think I have hard drives with the right SCSI connector, but I think I've got some adapters. We'll figure that out. And then there's more. If we can get an operating system on that thing, we're going to get some drives in this Compaq ProLiant storage system UE. It's like a SCSI disk shelf. All these bays are empty. I've never fired this on either. I'm kind of scared of it. We'll start with the server, and then even if we can't get that going, we'll dig into this and see what's going on here, see if we can't get some drive spinning, in this absolute monster. I've personally found that ProLiants of this era are pretty serviceable, but what happens over time, so they've got these captive thumb screws to take the lids off, and we'll get all those off. And what happens over time is the chassis kind of tweaks from being moved and shipped and everything, and it ends up being pretty hard to get those doors off. This one does not have that problem. Everything is super smooth, and it's got a feature I've never seen, which is super cool. So let's start with the side. There's actually the top plate and then the side panel. And so there's this one thumb screw right here that you let loose, and this whole side panel comes off just for the PCI and ISA bus access, which is awesome. So down in here, there's this riser board, and we've got some ISA slots, a bunch of ISA slots, and then 6 PCI ports. So this is pretty cool. This is kind of an interesting era of enterprise equipment having the ISA bus on it. That's kind of cool. And then I don't really know what's going on in here. I need to dig up a manual for this thing. There's this cavity, obviously, and on the front, there's like a little panel you can unscrew. So I don't know if that was like a display unit, some sort of remote management, maybe like more floppy drives. I really don't know. Let me know if you know what that's about. On the back of the panel, we've got the riser board configuration label, and it's a really nice sticker. Compaq spared no expense back then, at least in my experience with their enterprise hardware. And we got all the ISA and PCI slots here. And then number 7 says it's an I2O connector. Kind of looks like an IDE header. I'll have to dig up the documentation and see what an I2O connector is, probably remote management or something like that. And then this top panel also comes off. There's 2 additional captive screws. It's pretty straightforward, and like I was saying, this one's just like butter. It comes right off. It's amazing. More stickers on the back that'll show you. And I always mess this up when I put this on. These lips are supposed to go towards the front, but just logically, you're used to screwing things in from the back. So it'll happily slide on that way and not work. I always mess it up because the captive screws need to slide into that. I don't know why I'm talking about that. Okay, let's look at this sticker. When I pulled that tape drive out, I had a hell of a time. I had to pull the power supply out to get into there. I'll show you the front and explain that. This is making it seem like it's really no big deal. I don't know. This sticker says ProLiant 800 server at the top, but it's clearly for a desk side model, as you can see. So there's this panel on the desk side model that kind of swings open and you get access to the drive bays. That's not what I have here. When this tape drive was floating around in there, I couldn't just unscrew it or unclip it. I think it's missing the proprietary guides, which is why it was just banging all over the place. Because you can see this lip here, the drives don't make it past this, and this is metal, by the way. And so you can't just slide them out, so I had to slide it from the back. There's these screws all over it. Maybe we'll bother taking those off, I don't know. It's like 10 screws, and so presumably this whole panel just comes off, and that would be an easier way to get these. I don't know. If the tape drive works and tapes show up, maybe we'll deal with that. As far as the inside, pretty sparse. It's got an IDE header for drives. I don't think it has an IDE disk controller, so I'm pretty sure, at least this is how my other Compaqs were, you can't just plug in IDE hard drives. We've got probably, I don't know, 512 megs of RAM total maybe, all 4 sticks. We'll find out when we boot her up. And then that's the Pentium 3, 500 megahertz. It can be a dual Pentium 3 machine, which I would like to do, but I don't think I have the right Pentiums or this thing down in here. You can just barely see it. It's called a VRM, voltage regulator module, and each CPU needs one of these to provide it with the power. Way down in there you can see the open slot for the second VRM, and then obviously you'd slide another Pentium 3 down in there. And then there's the drive cage. It's missing the rails that I'm going to need to guide the drives in, so we'll probably just have a drive flopping around or figure out how to secure it somehow. And we've got the SCSI cable. You could use the SCSI for your peripherals as well instead of the IDE. I think that's why they gave you all this cable length with the connectors at some pretty logical spots there. And then this little roll with a very old looking zip tie would have been for the 4 drives, I think, that fit on the front. And I don't think it's ever been used. This must have been plugged into a disk shelf like mine or something. I guess we could go that route. I suppose you could just install the OS right on that. It's just a SCSI device. These are, I always get this wrong. These connectors were popular for Ultra 2 SCSI, I think. Let me go look up the actual connector name. There's like 3 billion SCSI connectors. I believe this connector name is HD50. And one of the beauties of SCSI is it's more or less backwards compatible. You can adapt between all the different connector styles. Most of the hard drives, I have a ton of SCSI hard drives, and some of them are this larger style. Kind of looks kind of tricksy. Kind of looks like a IDE connector, but it's not. There's more pins, 50 pins maybe. And then I've just got piles and piles of this style SCSI connector. So we'll have to do some adapting. In fact, this came from a Compaq once upon a time. It'll probably be going in there later. And then I was digging through my stuff, and I've got 2 of these Pentium 3s. Also, let's see if I can get this on camera. You might have to trust me. I don't know if that's coming out. These are also from a Compaq once upon a time. But I think these guys are 866 megahertz Pentium 3s. I imagine you'd like to pair them the same. And I can't find, I have a VRM somewhere. I don't know if the VRM is tied exactly to the model. This is a different voltage than the one that's in there for sure. I can see this one says 1.65 volts on that one. And the other one, the 500 megahertz unit that is installed, is a 2.0 volt. I haven't done any research to see if these VRMs can handle multiple voltages. And I can't find my other one anyway, so we're going to roll with the single 500 megahertz P3 today. Pretty Spartan on the back. We've got PS2 mouse and keyboard, the single power supply, which is kind of surprising. So this would have been probably their lower end range of servers if you couldn't have redundant power. Parallel port, a SCSI connector, VGA. Compaq was big because they were kind of expecting you to install Windows on this or whatever. You wouldn't be running this headless the way you would a Sun Microsystems machine running Solaris or Unix or something. It's kind of expected you were going to install some sort of Windows on this, hence the mouse and keyboard and VGA on board for the enterprise server. And then it's got an integrated, I think I was reading it's a 10100 megabit NIC. And then this one happens to have an Intel NIC installed in the top PCI slot. It is a 10100 1 gigabit NIC. Pretty fancy for 1999 or whatever. And then I've got some other cool Compaq cards we could play with. This is a 10100 Compaq branded Ethernet card, but with the onboard Ethernet in there. I don't know that that's necessary. And then got a couple of these Compaq SCSI controllers. This one actually might not even be Compaq branded. This one is for sure. It's got Compaq chips on it and everything. IBM chip as well. Compaq referred to these as their smart controllers or something, so this is a Compaq Smart 25L model X079 wide SCSI PCI. I see some copyright codes of 96, 97, so roughly era appropriate, and it's kind of looking like the era of card that would be in this thing. And here's something I hadn't thought of. If I can dig up one of these SCSI ribbons, maybe we can install this in there, and that might solve our hard drive headaches. Could be cool. This one is quite a bit newer. It's an HP NetRaid, and it's using these high-density SCSI connectors. I can't remember the exact name, sorry, on the back here. So this is a RAID controller, and you would have the battery backup keeping your RAID alive, and you can add memory for probably for caching in front of the disks, things like that, I would guess. And it's got 3 of those SCSI connectors internally, and a Dallas time clock that's no good, and someone unplugged it, the battery. Interesting. I don't think we're going to mess with this one today, but none of that really matters if this thing has a dead power supply. I'm going to get it hooked up and we'll boot it on. It's kind of got a unique power switch situation, so it's shrouded. You have to get in there and press it, and I would imagine that so you can't just bump up against it and actually turn your important server off. You have to get it. You have to really get your finger in there. Got it all hooked up. We at least have the Compaq mouse. I'm trying. And the power switch is off on the front. I think the power supply is going to come on because you can put remote management cards in these things. Let's see. Ooh. I think I heard the fan think about it and stop. Well. Woo. Life. I'm pointing at the screen. This thing is very pleasant to be around. I mean, it's not quiet, but it's kind of vibrating the table. They can take quite a while to come to life in terms of video, but I'm going to make sure my cables are all snug. Just took a while. She's coming to life. 1 gig of RAM, dang. 500 megahertz processor, that's good. It's obviously looking for SCSI devices. It's not going to find anything. Unconfigured system. This is good. This is really good. They don't make it like this anymore, guys. This thing's over 25 years old, probably. And it just works. It just works. I'm going to sit down and think about the hard drive situation for a little bit. Here's what I cooked up. We got this little adapter board. It's going to go from the HD50 over to Ultra wide. I should really memorize all 800 SCSI connectors, because that's what my disk is going to need, but I do have a problem. Kind of wanted to leave it in here because it's protecting the electronic components, and I'm just literally going to set it on top of this thing probably while I'm installing, but if I put that in there, we're going to have some connectors touching metal. That's no good, so I'm going to get this out of its Compaq drive caddy. I don't think this drive caddy existed when this machine came out. That'd be interesting. That'd actually be very convenient if these work, but I don't think so. These all use Torx screws, and they're almost never all installed because, you know, easy to lose. Or I put this in here. It's also possible. That's something I would do. 2 screws. These are kind of weird. Okay. Compact drive. 18.2 gigabytes, 7,200 RPM. Kind of crappy even for this thing, probably. Anyway, we will be able to adapt this to our needs. I've never had any luck with these SCSI adapters in the past, but maybe I'm smarter now. We'll see. These SCSI drives get really warm, and ideally you have air flowing past them. They get way warmer than like an IDE drive, in my experience. This takes the exact same Torx bit. That's nice. And this screen has been bent in, like something hit this thing, so we'll have to bend that back. And I can't remember if I've been in here before, but I'm already seeing stuff I don't like. I'll show you. Yeah, this is very... you can influence it, is what I'm saying. Anyway, it's pretty much straight again. Why would they do this? Does that... Maybe this whole cage comes out. Okay. That makes way more sense. It's like, why would they block you like that? But obviously they didn't. So this whole cage comes out. Okay. And then you install them from the back, I guess. There's definitely some sort of rail or bolt system that I don't have. I was hoping I could get lucky and slide it in and just screw it in through here, but only one lines up. It's just like millimeters off. That would be the whole drive in there, and it's just a little off. I flipped it around, and I'm able to get one bolt in there, but then this one is kind of loose. I might be able to just barely get the edge of the screw to hold that. Yeah, I think I will. All right, so it's pretty secure on one side, but on the other side, this is that rail system you're supposed to have. I think I can sneak a screw right there and just barely grab the lip of the metal. Let me go dig up a screw. Oh yeah, we're cooking. I found in my stash a couple screws that actually fit perfectly in this guide, but they don't actually secure the drive to the metal on this side, but I'm wrenching on it pretty hard and it's not going anywhere. I like that. Okay, got the cage back in. I've got one of the SCSI connectors connected to my little adapter here with power, and it's pretty good. I'll put it all back together if this works. I want to see if it can detect a SCSI drive, so I'm going to give it power. We're going to boot it back on. That was real time. There's like a delay. It's very weird and nerve-wracking. I can feel and hear the drive spinning up. That's good. These things have really weird BIOS, I guess you would call it. It's something called Compaq Smart Start. It's probably really good if you know what you're doing, but if you're someone like me, it's a complete nightmare. Let's see if, without Smart Start CDs in or anything, it can detect that. Actually, I don't even know. There's a disk in here. That's what I was hearing spin up. Remote admin and key. Okay. It's alive. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully it at least sees a drive. It's going to start looking now, I think. Come on. Come on. No SCSI devices detected. Oh boy. Alright, I'm going to mess around. I'll be back. I threw in an NT floppy boot disk. We'll see if I can find a hard drive. It's off doing its thing, but again, this is just from the floppy drive. The floppy drive works. That's good news. Got to put in disk too. Old computer stuff. I'm fairly certain that hard drive isn't even spinning up. So probably have to set some jumpers or something. Windows NT setup, don't fail us now. It's getting to the point where it wants to find SCSI drives, and that requires boot disk number 3. Windows NT found the onboard SCSI host adapter, and we're going to see if there's any drives it can find. And to the surprise of no one, it has found no hard disk drives in this thing. So what I'm going to do is mess around with that adapter. There were some jumpers I could set. I don't even know if that drive works. It's totally possible that's just a dead drive. I'll be back when I can get a hard drive detected. All right, we are getting somewhere. I pulled out another drive just in case. Nothing, it wouldn't spin up. The other one wouldn't spin up, wasn't detected. I had originally been using this SCSI adapter. I played around with different SCSI IDs on the jumpers. Nothing. So I pulled out another SCSI adapter board, and this drive spun right up, so I suspect the other one will work as well. And it does detect the drive. Let me restart the machine, Control-Delete here, and I'll show you. It's pretty brief. It's looking for SCSI devices, and there it is, a Seagate drive. So it knows about the drive. That's good. It's very good. And then it's still complaining the clock battery is dead. So I don't know. I don't know what's on that drive. Yeah, it's just going to restart the machine. Okay. Nothing's on that drive. But this is good. We can attempt to proceed. Drive is spinning down. This is a slightly more sophisticated board, adapter board than the one I was using before. It supports a couple different styles and you get a little more configurability. So we're going to pop that back into this one. Hopefully this board fits where I put that drive. It does. Let's see if it'll detect the original drive. Oh man. Can you see that? I fried something. Uh-oh. Something was touching something it shouldn't. I don't think it was this board. Ooh, this board is on fire. Oh no. What melted? I think that drive's cooked. I can't tell what got damaged yet. Maybe I caught some of it on camera. A ton of smoke started flowing out of this drive. And this board is still really warm, and it's the only one I have like this. I don't see any actual physical damage. There's one resistor in there that is fine. Yeah, so obviously you have to be really careful about all the contacts and stuff, you know, when you're pushing it up against metal stuff. But I thought I had cleared it. I wonder, I don't know if you can tell, but this is totally smoked. This got way overheated. I wonder what I was touching. There's nothing in there for it to short against. I thought I was being careful enough. The computer's okay. I think I fried my little board here. Let's try it out, I guess. This board is the one that was melting and smoking. Maybe it just went bad as I messed with it. The drive is spinning up. That board's not smoking. How bizarre. I guess I'm just going to be really careful getting it in there. I'll probably cover it with Kapton tape or something. You can see right there where the board heated up and melted. This black plastic was melting. That's what this dark stuff is. It smells great in here, by the way. What in the world? It's booting just fine with that card in there. We'll see if it sees the drive again. Looking for SCSI devices. Yep, there it is. Okay. It's possible this drive's bad. I'm going to pull it out and test it independently like I am here. Yeah, I thought I had a situation on my hands there. I don't know how much I caught, but it was just like billowing smoke out. Hilarious. I've got that Compaq drive pulled out of the drive tray, uninstalled it, and I've got it in my little test apparatus here, carefully plugged in to that board that blew off some smoke. There's basically a 99.9% chance that this board was just like tweaked when it was jammed into the drive tray and one of the contacts was touching the metal, or this metal on the hard drive was shorting some of them, I guess. But there's also a non-zero chance that it's going to burn my shit down. So let's see what it is. No smoke. I'm ready, dude. I'm gonna pull this. I'll pull this pin right now. It just turned off, but this drive has like a power LED down here. And I believe it is spinning. It's not as obvious as the other one. We'll see if the computer can find it. I love the Compaq splash screens. So good. Okay, we're getting in. Scanning for SCSI devices, theme of the night. And they found it. ID4 Compaq. Excellent. Just for fun. Maybe there's something on this one. I don't remember. Nope. That's concerning me that it doesn't even try to boot from the hard drive. Even if there's nothing on there, it just restarts the computer. Down in here is the soldered in BIOS battery, I guess you could call it. Won't be dealing with that, so well, I will if I have to, but I'd rather not. It'll boot by default from a floppy drive, but it's not attempting to boot from the disk, even if it has no, bootable operating system or anything like that, which is really screaming to me like Smart Start. Might be Smart Start time, but we're gonna try to install Windows NT on this bad boy and see if we get anywhere. I also must say it smells absolutely terrible in here from that burning plastic, and I've touched the plastic and I'm touching it again, so now my hands are ruined forever. Like that smell, it's very hard to get that smell to go away. I'm about to go to bed for the night, so I'm literally about to take this board and put it up in the garage, and hopefully it airs itself out. Hopefully this room airs out. Good news, it's a couple nights later. The machine is booted up and it's doing something. This is the one that I shorted and really got cooking. It doesn't smell in here anymore. This only smells if you put it up to your face, and as you saw just a few moments ago in the video anyway, it still works. So I was digging through my stash to see what I've got. And this slightly smaller one is working just fine. In fact, we're formatting this drive right now. The trick that's up my sleeve is a viewer and patron, Mati, I hope I'm saying that right, Mati157, actually created a Windows NT installer with Service Pack 6 slipstreamed in on a bootable ISO. And so the deal here is we're going to boot directly from the CD, install with no network, and then apparently after the installation we'll actually install the official SP6 Service Pack for whatever reason, reinstall it, and then we should be able to install with network and everything should be cool. And so far it's going pretty well. It is installing, well actually it's formatting the drive right now, but this CD-ROM works great. I was able to boot right off that NT4 with SP6 ISO disk that I burned, all 96 megabytes of it or whatever. So this CD-ROM works great, that was awesome, and the disk is bootable. And then this hard drive I'm using is an 18.2 gigabyte compact drive. And you can see the installer recognizes it with 17.3-ish gigabytes available on the drive. It won't format that much. It'll complain that the drive is too big. I think the largest bootable partition, at least this version of Windows NT will support, was 4 gigs. So I created a 4 gig partition here. That's what I'm formatting right now. It went just fine and it was happy to format that. This is going to take a little while. I can hear the drive clicking away, and then we'll get into the installer. Done formatting. Windows NT and I don't have a good history. I'm going to skip the exhaustive examination. It's doing it anyway. So hopefully I'll bring you back in a little bit and we'll be cruising through the Windows NT graphical installer after it's done with this copy stuff. It's complaining that there's a problem with I didn't turn off the camera for more than 13 seconds and it's complaining about OLEACCRC.dll not copied correctly. I don't think I've ever seen that one before. Let's try that again. Maybe this CD-ROM isn't so happy. I'm gonna skip it. Whatever. She's really complaining. Not properly copying a DLL is such a bad omen for this whole operation. My drive's getting kind of warm too. I probably should have put that back in the computer. So, the way the NT setup works is it copies some files pretty briefly. That was only like a couple minutes to the disk, and then it tells you to take out all the media. We just have the CD-ROM at the moment. And now the first hurdle, well, we got through a lot of hurdles actually. It recognized the disk, it could boot from the CD and everything. The next hurdle is we copied some files to this disk. We are going to restart the computer with enter, and we're going to hope that the installer picks up where it left off on this disk, and I think it asks you to put the install media back in. Looking for SCSI drives. Boot from this drive, please. Come on. I don't think that's good. I'm going to say Windows NT. I think this is NT4. It is. But when I did this last time, it just restarted the machine. Yeah, oh no. Well, let's see. Like I was telling you, this thing's trying to persist those settings. It wants to know what operating system you're installing for whatever reason, and that battery is almost certainly dead. I didn't check it, but that's what's going on. So hopefully it's persisted that into memory and it'll be happy to boot off a drive now. I don't really know. Or I'll have to dig up an ancient Smart Start version for this. Grub? I didn't know Windows was using Grub. So this is good. It flashed up something about Windows NT and partition settings or something. Now it's just blinking away on Grub. You can hear the drive spinning. But the good news is I'm probably going to have to do that little reboot loop and set it to Windows NT every time, assuming I can get past this. I don't really know what's happening right now. I'm going to press enter. No, I don't know. I don't know. Restarted the machine again. Hopefully I can show you that menu I couldn't capture before. It's very short. Okay, should hop into it now. Yeah. No. Maybe I need to let Compaq know about the partition. Oh, we're gonna have to Smart Start all over this thing. Well, folks, thought I was gonna get away with it. I need to go refresh my memory on the incantation it requires to set these Compaqs up to successfully install an operating system. Okay. Smart Start actually is a instance of Windows 95. I've never seen it admit it though. Oh geez. What is it talking about? A? There's nothing in the A drive. Oh boy. Maybe we need an older version of Smart Start. It's possible that my copy of Smart Start is just too new. To remind you what Smart Start's all about, this is what it looks like on another slightly newer Compaq server. These machines are eISA machines, so they're kind of funny. You configure them with software that you need to provide on a disk and get in those menus, and they're pretty picky about you need to set up and let them know about the hard drive partitions and stuff like that before they'll boot into an operating system that you put on the hard drive. Now, like I was saying, maybe this thing is so old it doesn't even support Smart Start at all. I have no idea. There's also these support software CDs. They have something called the Compaq System Configuration Utility. We might be able to boot off one of those. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's see how we do with Old Faithful Windows 2000 Pro. It's just formatting the drive right now. All 18 gigs this time. Screw you, Windows NT. But yeah, that's going to be not even half the battle. We'll see if this machine's lower level internals will let us boot off of a Windows 2000 install. I don't know. I have had luck doing that on some other Compaqs that are slightly newer than this. Just hit 100% on the format. These enterprise SCSI drives are just incredible. Like, I don't even know if I can find a date code on this thing. But you can tell it's an Ultra 2, 7200 RPM. So, I mean, it's up there in years. And it still just works. I've reformatted it twice tonight, and it's just cranking along. It's truly incredible. And that was live as I was talking to you. It's already at 12% set up, files copied. Just wild. Unreal. Look, I want to be an NT guy, but it's just not working out for me. I guess technically this is NT. I always want to put NT4 on these old boys. And man, the eISA and the Smart Start and the BIOS stuff just makes it so difficult. And for some reason, Windows 2000 blast past all that. I don't know, Microsoft knew what they were doing with that or something. I don't know. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Definitely not out of the woods yet. We got to get through this thing, but I think we're looking good. All right, it's about 20 minutes later. We're still looking good. And I'd really like to wrap this up because I kind of want to go to bed. So let's do this, I guess. Let me go check the lower section of my certificate of authenticity. Uh-oh. All right, I had to check a couple of my certificates, if you know what I mean. I found an authentic one. What is this? Compaq. Well, I don't know. Let's call this PLA 100. Administrative password. It's definitely not just my wife's name. It is February 18th, 1999. You're right. Let's go. Windows 2000. I hope this boots. I hope I can boot into this operating system after a restart. You never know with these Compaqs. I do like that the hard drive lights are in sync as they're writing things. Kind of cool. Configuring COM. I feel like we should do some COM programming on the YouTube channel. Maybe even on this thing. Why did they even let you move this thing around? We're getting so close. I almost have hope in my heart. We're at the please wait while setup registers components stage. Come on. I'm not the most eloquent or literate guy, but Microsoft always did weird stuff. They had like My Briefcase and My Documents. And it's kind of weird how you're referencing things. Right now I'm at a saves settings stage, but you got to read the fact that please wait while setup does that. Why not just saving settings? Who is setup? Why is that a proper noun? I am legitimately getting concerned that the CD-ROM drive is going to die in the last like 3 minutes I need it. Come on, buddy. It's probably actually just because it's sideways. So clearly, this PL800 came with the desk side form factor in mind, and they just, jammed them in for the rack mount version. You can hear the CD skip occasionally. Yeesh, we're so close. Holy crap. It says, take the CD out with pleasure. Sounds like I'm torturing an animal with that thing in there. Nothing like a good old, 26-year-old CD-ROM drive. Gotta love it. It's getting late. I'm hoping this is it. Probably gonna restart? I can't remember. It's been a couple years since I installed Windows 2000. Yeah, we definitely restarted. Hence the install media removal, I suppose. I almost don't want to say it, but I'm feeling optimistic because I was able to continue the installer. But this will be the moment of truth if this cranky old Compaq is just gonna boot right to 2000 off of this drive. This is probably fine. It doesn't know about 2000. I think this is okay. I'm just gonna say NT4 and let it reboot, and hopefully it can boot from the drive. Hopefully this is making sense. So when I started the Windows 2000 install, it copied some files to here, and I was able to boot off that drive to continue the install and get the rest of the way there. So that's why I'm cautiously optimistic that it will be able to boot. What's gonna happen? That's not good. Oh, never mind. We're there. That's the Windows 2000 startup sequence. Oh man. Yes. I think this is really good. Yes. Ah. So I made like a 3-parter when I was looking at a DL380 Gen 1 trying to get Windows NT on it. I finally did. Took a lot of smart start work, a lot of doing the right thing. And in the past, I had installed Windows 2000 on the same machine, which is why I was hoping it would work here. So let me know if you know why. Why does Windows 2000 install just fine, but Windows NT 4.0, these EISA machines are super picky about it. I don't know. This is the first thing Windows 2000 gives you. Apparently, I am not... oh, this is weird. Not my wife's name. Don't worry about that. This is the most beautiful site. We will definitely be leaving this screen. We can boot to Windows 2000. We haven't got her on a network yet. We'll probably do that later. Oh, it's so nice. We got any games? We got any games on this thing? Solitaire. How did I like to play? I feel like there's options. I used to draw one standard, timed game, yeah. And then I would I can't actually remember how to play solitaire, but I would play as fast as I could. Oh, what am I doing? Anyway, look at this feat of strength. I beat it in 32 seconds one time. Single card, that was great. Anyway, the new gaming rig is looking good. I think it is time to turn our attention to that monster. But first, we're going to have to make room to slide it over here. So I think we're going to get that hard drive all buttoned up back into the machine so we can move it over. And I was looking at the documentation, some quick specs for this big storage array, this model UE. And one of its compatible SCSI controllers is the Smart 2SL array controller, which happens to be the Compaq card I was showing you earlier. I think I had called it a Compaq Smart 25L, but it's a Compaq Smart 2SL. And off camera, a couple nights ago, before I even got Windows installed, I had actually tried to slot it into one of the PCI slots. I've tried a couple slots now, and the machine doesn't post. I don't even know if it's called posting on this machine, but basically there's no output over the video when this card is installed, which is not encouraging. I believe I have another one, the Smart Array 3200 controller or something very similar, but it's in a storage unit. I recently got a storage unit, and I moved a bunch of my big enterprise equipment into it because I was running out of room down here, and I'm pretty sure it's sitting inside one of these Compaq DL380s, which obviously are not here in this room with me, so I might be making a trip tomorrow. It's got this really impressive set of LEDs that turn on when the machine is on, and those all go green. There's a couple orange, but who knows? I haven't dug up the documentation on this thing. And the machine seems fine, except yeah, you just get no video. So long story short, we'll try to get this thing working. It's very possible I can just plug that big disk array just off to the left into the onboard SCSI controller on this thing, and it'll just work. Not entirely sure. It seems somewhat flexible based on the documentation I'm reading, but that is enough talking. Let's get this drive installed in this cage safely this time. No more smoke. The obvious first thing to do is to get some Kapton tape, which doesn't conduct electricity, and we're gonna slather it on the back of my little converter board so that when it's in the cage, there's nothing pushing against. This whole housing is metal, so anything basically on here can short. It's beautiful. I am available for electronic repairs. I'm obviously not a hack at all. I'm actually not available for that. Don't bother me. I kept saying earlier that I had assumed it was some sort of rail system, but I think these are the rails. And so you have these screws that are sitting kind of proud on one side, and they'll slide in and act as guides, but they don't actually literally attach to the cage. That happens on the other side, where you're able to throw the normal drive screws in. That one is pretty critical because it doesn't provide much tolerance. And yeah, so it's a little bit of a system, I guess you could say, but I don't think it requires any actual proprietary rails. But I could be wrong. I haven't actually dug up a manual on this thing yet. I put the drive a little lower to reduce tension. Kind of hard to explain, but that's just the situation in here. Still really interesting that the SCSI cables for the drive tray were completely rolled up and looked factory zip tied. So this was probably attached to a disk shelf, which we're gonna try to do now. Okay, we're looking good. I got this lid back on for airflow reasons. Got the cage in here. I'm gonna boot it on just to make sure I'm not shorting and smoking, since historically that's what happens. And I actually had to pull this drive tray out again, this whole cage, take off these 4 bolts and tighten one of the hard drive screws because it was flopping around in there. And you can sort of judge a computer by how you feel after you're working on it. And this one is growing on me. It is serviceable. I understand its layout now. Kind of interested to see what's going on with this. There better be a good explanation for why it's so hard to get those drives out. But yeah, I think a good gauge of whether a computer was well made or not, an enterprise server, I should say especially, is, you know, what's your mood after you replace a part? If you got a smile on your face, it was made well, and I'm smiling. So like I was saying, because I'm too lazy to desolder that clock battery on the motherboard, I have to go through this song and dance every time, but it restarts, and then we get into Windows 2000, hopefully. Haven't done it yet tonight. Getting in there, no problems. I'm gonna shut her down after it starts up. This must be nostalgic for someone. I didn't use Windows 2000 a whole bunch back in the day. Tons of 95, 98, even a lot of ME, and then we hopped to XP. I, of course, legitimately acquired Windows 2000 a few times when I was a young man, and put it on a couple machines, but didn't really use it. But I think a lot of people really have fond memories. It is a rock-solid operating system to this day. And we are still in the hardware era here, where you shut it down and you have to physically power off the machine. Now, I should note, I just did one hard drive, one very old, probably been through a lot hard drive. If I wasn't trying to fast track this and be lazy, I would have figured out the Compaq configuration utilities and the Smart Start to try to make a RAID array, except I don't think that SCSI controller that's on board would actually work. So ideally, I would have gotten an actual legitimate smart array style card in here, fired up all 4 drives, gotten some sort of redundancy. So, of course, we're living on borrowed time with that one Compaq drive that's probably over 25 years old, but that's okay. I have a feeling it'll make it at least through this video. We'll see. Well, where to even start? This is a Compaq ProLiant Storage System UE, and it's got 10 drive bays anyway. I've got all the trays. One is a little bit broken, and they're all empty. I picked this up, geez, 2 years ago from Windman 46 in a massive lot of stuff, including this bad boy. I've already done an intro video on that. This guy will be back on the channel sooner rather than later. Both of these guys are pretty big in terms of enterprise equipment, which was more common back in the day. So rack mountable servers are measured vertically in something called a U, a rack unit. This is a 2U blanking panel. And so I think what we've got here is a 4U unit. So this must be 5. So it's 2.5 of these 2Us. 5U, 4U. 4U is still really big. Like, I think 2U is also, there's just like hair all over the place. 2U is, you know, really big for the average home labber. And so this is a 4U unit. It is full length. You can see it's technically longer than the server, and it's all metal. It's pretty heavy. I can't imagine how heavy it would be with the drives in there. It's pretty back weighted. I think all the equipment and the power supply is over here. So this is a SCSI disk array. All of these SCSI devices can be exposed to a machine like this one over the correct SCSI cables. Some of these might not be anything we need. I'm not sure yet. But these drive trays are particularly frustrating. They were originally for wide Ultra SCSI 18.2 gig drives, and that one's a 9.1, 18.2. These are just the labels. There's no drives inside. So it was full of 18 gig drives, exactly the same as that Compaq drive we put in the other machine. But these things are super annoying, so let's start with the back. On the back, we've got this cooling fan assembly. We've got a blanking plate for another power supply, PSU, and then we do have one PSU. So you could upgrade to have redundant power, which is what almost certainly everyone would have done. And I've never powered this thing on, so I'm hoping this big guy works with these massive contacts. And then in the upper middle here is like some sort of control board. I have a wide Ultra SCSI 3, I think that's 40 megabytes per second for the model UE. So this is probably what came with this thing. And you can see it has one SCSI connector. That is a SCSI cable connector that we will connect up to the other computer. And I think you could get different modules. So this is pretty fast for the era, SCSI 3. You can get SCSI 2 and some other ones, and also some dual bus. So 2 SCSI connectors, you could have multiple computers hooked up, that sort of thing. And like I was saying, I've never turned this thing on, but I'm so excited to show you this board. I have pulled this board out before. These stupid connector things are identical, except they're just gray versus the purple on the front to the ones on the front, and these were not meant to stand the test of time. They're really bad. I hate having to touch them every time. But I have pulled this board out, the control board, which is modular, and on the other side, it's got the best little Easter egg screen print engineering thing I've ever seen. So here is the front side of the board. It's very light, very well laid out. This one is very clean. I'm lucky. It is the Compaq SCSI Bus Monitor I/O board. This one has a 1998 Compaq copyright code, but you can see something weird going on over here. We've got a guy riding a horse or a bronco, and in the same scene, we've got a duck, like a mama duck, with her baby ducks. This has to be the best silk screening. I don't want to call it an Easter egg, but just like the mark of the designers and the developers and the team that created the product. In classic Collab Retro fashion, I haven't looked up what this means at all. I'm just enjoying it here in the moment. I pulled this board out. I don't know, a year ago, saw this and I was like, whoa, that is so cool. It is so cool to see the team that developed something as arguably as mundane as a SCSI bus monitor I/O board for a 1998 Compaq enterprise disk shelf. And you know, Compaq was not necessarily in good shape by the late 90s. I mean, the end was near as of what was it, 90 early 90s or whatever. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'm not a historian. It's just so cool, like, to see this. That's why I'm making you look at it for so long. Someone worked on this and they said, yep, we're putting it on the SCSI bus monitor I/O board. We've also got this fan assembly with the typical Compaq screws here. And I haven't taken this out. This is rather uninspiring. Got the 3 fans on the back there, and then this Compaq branded made in USA fan controller board of some sort with some ICs on it and stuff. With a user maintenance header. Interesting. I wonder if that's for what's going on in the rest of the machine or just the fans, the 3 fans. There's not much to look at. The fan assembly slides in here. It's a massive cavity, probably a foot long. Same with the controller board. And they called them like upgrade kits. So I don't know if I have one of the upgrade kits. I guess I could compare part numbers or whatever, but it's not really my style. So maybe you could get more fans and stuff. I'm not sure. You could definitely have different speeds and bus counts of SCSI controller board here. And obviously, we've got a blanking plate for redundant power. Hopefully this one works. It's always a relief to buy an enterprise machine when there is redundant power. We're 1 for 1 today. That ProLiant didn't have redundant power. This one doesn't either. We'll see what happens. So I'll get all this stuff buttoned back up. Compaq is the only enterprise company of this era, late 90s to mid 2000s, I like to mess with, which didn't, I don't know how to describe it, didn't finish their metal. It's like matte. It's still really high quality metal, and is metal, of course, which is better than some can say about certain parts. But yeah, it doesn't have like a, I don't know how to describe it, a finish to it. It's not good. I always get this wrong. It's probably because I'm putting it in upside down. Oh no. There we go. Okay. And these clip and do the rest of the work for you and lock it in. We'll be back here later, assuming the power supply works. So here we are on the front, and it's got the same shrouded power switch. My understanding from reading the documentation is you power this thing on and it does kind of come to life, but it's not until you press this button that the discs will turn on. So when it's off, it's in some sort of standby mode, but we should hear the power supply spin. And then on the bottom, it's got labels 0 through 5, 0 through 5 for a total of 10 discs. On the top, 0 through 4, 0 through 4. And obviously I have 10 discs in here. I think, I'm gonna regret saying this from memory, but I think a typical SCSI bus can have 11 devices. And the controller itself, I think, is also a device that you plug this into. So you've got the 10 discs plus the controller. We'll see. My best guess, without doing any research, which is what I like to do, 0 through 5, 0 through 5, 0 through 4, is for thicker discs. So you can see this larger disc format, which if you're young enough, you've never seen before, fits pretty nicely and right there. So they probably had trays that took up essentially 2 slots. And you could put these bigger discs in. Let me find a normal disc. Well, I shouldn't say it's normal, but smaller. So this is what I'm set up for. 3.5 inch. I don't know the height, but because that's not a problem anymore. I think that's what's going on there. And let me tell you, I would love to put these old boys to work, but I only have the trays for the, we'll call them standard or typical height. So anyway, these things suck utterly. I'm going to attempt to take one out for you. So obviously, theoretically, you should squeeze the sides, and that is working this time. But you almost break them every time. This one came out. I don't even know how to explain this because I don't understand it fully myself. This little tray comes out. The drive goes in here. We'll get to that. We've got to load some of these up. And so this one's already broken, actually. So you can see there's this plastic edging. This one doesn't have it. Before I ever owned this, that broke off a very long time ago. Let's pull another one out. The next one does look like all its plastic is intact. I'm going to squeeze both sides and nothing happens. Like it doesn't want to move. And I have found if you squeeze the side closer to this end, so that would be if you're squeezing only the side on the Compaq logo and light edge of the caddy, they will come free. The documentation does not say this, and it's obviously pretty hard to do. So you saw how I had to get my one finger in there, and it's really hard when you don't have this extra space. And then you pull, and everything's fine. So here it is. Kind of looks like a crab. Anyway, I have to imagine these worked really well when they were made over 25 years ago. And these just kind of flop around in the breeze on these little guides. So that's nice. Let me see if I can film this somehow. So the locking mechanism is this little plastic clip. This thing clips in there. And what's supposed to happen is you're pressing this down to release this. And so I think back in the day when the plastic was strong and hadn't worn out, you would just squeeze. But now I'm squeezing both ends. Oh man, hopefully this is in focus. I'm squeezing both sides and it just barely kind of got it. But really what's supposed to happen is the bottom one doesn't do anything. The top one pushes this little clip down, and then this can release because you're trying to get it out of this little locking mechanism. And I'm probably not explaining this very well because I don't quite understand it, but in my experience, if I press both, it's really hard to get it off there. But if you press this one by the Compaq logo, it almost always comes free. Same for this side. And then you can, anyway. And then I was kind of bummed out. The only problem so far, never powered it on, with this thing is that this down here doesn't have any of the, a bunch of plastic broke off, I guess. And so you think that would make it easier. I'm trying to deduce what to do right now. That one's loose. Come on, boy. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. We're just going to leave that. In anticipation of that event, I of course bought another one on eBay. And it's also broken. I promise you that was already broken before I did that. Maybe they'll slide in. I don't think so. What a nightmare. We only need one. Can we steal? So you'll have to believe me that those were already broken. But I bet if I get a screwdriver up in these, we can steal them. Anyway, the good news is it came with a drive, and if you screw in the drives, haven't seen that before, this tray won't move around. So I was flopping these trays around. Obviously, once you screw one in, they don't go anywhere. So that's good to know about the design, I suppose. This drive is fully secured with the 4 screws on the bottom. Who are you? What kind of drive are you? It's a Compaq something or other. I should also mention this wasn't clear in the eBay listing that some very severe physical damage has happened to this thing. It probably still works, but you'd have to bend that back. That's what a normal one looks like on the left. Anyway, I don't have a good mental model of how to interact with this thing. I think it will expose these drives over a SCSI bus, and there is some Compaq software to RAID them if you have the right controllers and everything. But even with 2 drives out, I've never powered it on. So it's plugged in, and my understanding, let's see. Okay, it is off. This button is physically off. My understanding is that if you turn the power on, we should hear a power supply. My understanding is, of course, wrong. Reading some bad documentation. Let's see if it turns on. It's not plugged into the machine. It has no hard drives. This is not good. Oh, there it goes. That took like, I'm just going to leave that in there. That was like 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Okay, fans are on. They sound terrible, but they're blowing. Oh, they sound crusty. So those will need some help later. All right, we've got a power supply. And the documentation I was reading is obviously not for this unit. Excellent. Forgot to show the environmental requirements notice. 10K RPM, cannot exceed 86 Fahrenheit or 30 degrees Celsius. Anyway, it's got a bunch of stuff. If you're worried about it, you should refer to the Compaq hot pluggable SCSI hard drive compatible table. And I really think it's odd that it says read then remove sticker. Read then remove sticker. That does remind me though, these are hot swappable with the right SCSI controller, which would have been pretty hot crap in 1998. So a drive goes bad. This, depending on the controller it's connected to, you can lose, 1 or more drives. You pull it out. This thing's probably telling you it's bad with its indicators, I'm assuming. You pop a new drive back in, and then you're back on to the .com boom. So the goal here is to get a couple drives at least in here. More than one, we won't fill it up. I don't have enough of the same drive. I'm not sure how much that matters. But I was looking through my stuff, and I found 2 more of these Compaq 18.2 gig, 7200 RPM wide Ultra 2 SCSI drives. These are essentially the exact model of drive I put in the ProLiant over there. I think we're going to go with these 2. I also found this Compaq 10,000 RPM 9.1 gig Ultra 2 SCSI drive, which I have in a Sun caddy. This is the drive caddy that Sun Microsystems like to use on their machines. And then I've got several other variants, all Compaq branded, in these Compaq drive sleds, which don't help us with this machine. I've got tons of these drive sleds, I don't know, 30 of these things or something, and quite a few servers they go in. Got a 36.4 gig 10K RPM. This is a 36.4 gig 15K RPM. The previous owner was nice enough to note that it is loud but good. That is the kind of notes I leave myself, but I usually use a sticky note. I don't write it right on the drive. Another 36.4 gig 15K Ultra 3. This is a 9.1 gig 7200 Ultra 2. But I think just to see if we can get this thing working in this video, we'll go with these 2 18.2 gig 7200 RPM Ultra 2 SCSI. This thing has the Ultra 3 SCSI controller, so these are slower than this can technically support. I think I was reading that it likes the 18.2 max of 10K RPM Ultra 3s, but who knows? It would probably accept all those just fine. But let's get these in some trays. Got one of them buttoned up, and I'll show you this. So you actually cover this ribbon for the light indicators with the drive, so no IBM light path tubes here. Then you get this little drive cage thing that is very useful. Fragile. Do not drop drive. It's good advice. And I've got tons of hard drive screws, but so far it looks like I can get away with, basically, I could probably get away with none, but basically using 2 of them. So one to hold this thin metal cage on, and then another one on the opposite side on the back right there. And that seems to be good enough. It's in there nice. So we're going to slot 2 of these in, obviously. Just, I remember this being kind of tight. Okay, that's going good. I think that one's in. And the other one is like this lip that these little guides catch, these latches, and they push it the rest of the way in. Pretty nice. I think that's good. The next hurdle is actually hooking this thing up to the server. And the module I have is a single Ultra SCSI 3 wide connector here, I think. And I have been dying for a reason to use these cables. I picked these up years ago, probably over 3 years ago. And believe it or not, they are Compaq branded SCSI cables. This is a really short one, which isn't convenient for the setup here. And we got this ridiculously long one. It's also got some sort of Compaq labeling on it. And these things are no joke. They're super thick. They have like a particular smell to them. It's almost like, not gasoline, but kind of smells like a gas station. I think this is either the rubber they use or how it's decaying or something. It has a very distinct smell. It's not bad. It's just, I have like, I don't know, 5 or 6 of these, and I don't keep them in this room, I guess is what I'm saying. So the plan is we're gonna plug this thing in right to the onboard SCSI controller. And I think what's gonna happen is it'll expose 2 discs. We'll see. And the ID of the SCSI discs is determined by the slot order that we put them in when we slid those in. So like 1 and 2, maybe, I think. And if you remember, the disk that's already in the enterprise server is ID 4 for whatever reason. And I think if we had put more disks in and got up to 4, that would have caused some problems. Every item on a single SCSI bus has a unique ID. And if we had gotten up to 4, I think that would have confused the server over there. The way around that is you put another SCSI controller, this is a RAID controller, inside the machine, and then you can use all the IDs you want on this thing and not interfere with the other SCSI bus. I think I had said I had one of the Smart Array 3000 whatever controllers that this thing supports, but I was wrong. I have a Smart Array 5300 controller, which I think is quite a bit newer and better than this machine and the ProLiant. It probably would work with this unit, but I think that's PCI X down there. I don't think I can put that in this machine. This one does work, so would like to mess with this someday with some other Compaq servers. But for now, I'm just gonna wire them both up with this and see where we get. SCSI cable is connected. Everything is plugged in. I'm gonna power this one on first, I guess. Yeah, that takes like a solid 5 seconds. I'm not seeing any obvious indications that these drives are alive. Okay. Sort of would have thought at least something from one of these. And it doesn't, it's hard to tell because of the other fans in the machine, but it doesn't feel like they're spinning necessarily. I don't know. I'll give it a few moments. Just for fun, let's slot this one I bought from eBay in. I bent the metal back. I think it's going to work. There's no SCSI controller or anything plugged into this thing at the moment, so I don't think we're going to hurt anything. There were lights, and then nothing. This video is over an hour long already, and it might be getting longer. Let's power up the ProLiant. Here we go. It's looking for SCSI devices, and what I'd really like to see is more than one, but I don't know. I'm not seeing any lights on the disk shelf. Spinning SCSI hard drives. It's never done that before. Yeah, it's telling them to turn on. The lights are coming on. The light on the first one just came on. Now the second one, I think it'll do the third one. It's telling the drives to spin up. That's a SCSI thing you can do. It's stuck on that second one. First one was really quick. It just moved on to the third one. Oh yeah, I saw some drives on there. Oh yeah, we got to do this whole thing. I should really desolder that battery. I can almost guarantee you I'm never going to do that. So we're going to do this again. It is spinning the drives again. It is on the second one at the moment. It's really quick with that first one. And I can, of course, hear them. So this one happens almost instantly. It spins this for, I don't know, what feels like an eternity. It's probably 20 seconds. And that one's also quick, so I'll try to get you back at the screen. It doesn't see them all. One of them failed. All right, let's get into Windows, hopefully. Okay, yeah, that's looking good. So now I'm really curious what Windows is going to do with this. SCSI is a little overwhelming if you've never really dealt with it. Like, I never dealt with it professionally. I'm too young. Too young. I'm 37. So I'm seeing these blink a little bit. Windows is booting up. But there is, I don't know. I think if you wrap your head around it, it is pretty easy to understand, probably pretty easy to troubleshoot and straightforward. And there's a reason that, you know, it persists in certain forms up to this day, actually. SAS drives in enterprise machines, that just stands for serial attached SCSI. So SCSI's still with us. We are in Windows 2000, but do I need software? Interesting. So that's obviously the disk we were messing with earlier that Windows installed on. What's this? VMware. Whoa. You know what? I didn't actually check if... What is data for? How big are you? 11 gigs. That might not be our SCSI array. How big is this one? 2 gigs. Yeah, this is like the rest of the single drive we put in already. Okay, I need to do some research. I'm editing this video, and at this point in the filming, as you can see, I'm very confused. I'm assessing the situation entirely wrong. This Data 4E drive is in fact one of the drives in the SCSI array, and I think as I'm filming stuff, I'm just kind of streaming my thoughts, and behind the scenes, it just seems so unrealistic to me that a random drive I pulled was going to have a valid partition, NTFS formatted, let alone have some stuff on it. There wasn't anything useful in there. It was a bunch of configuration files and stuff. And then not to mention that I keep looking at the used space of each drive and assuming that's the capacity, even though capacity is right on the screen there as the 16.9 gigs for each drive. Anyway, I figure it out later. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Of course, it's not doing it now, but they were blinking a little bit while Windows was running. And, oh, there's one. And behind the scenes, Windows was busy because it's saying, finished installing new devices, must restart the computer. There was no visual indication that anything was going on. Let's restart. I can't tell you how good it feels to see Windows just starting fine on this thing every time. Come on, guys. You can get along. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like intern level at best. 2001 IT administrator down here. All right, I've got Device Manager up, and it sees them, all 4 Compaq drives. So one of these is in the ProLiant, and then of course I put 3 other drives in the disk array. Can I see anything interesting about them? Of course not. I think we're going to need some software, do a little research, or we need a different SCSI controller card, I don't know. This is the one that's in there right now, this PCI SCSI adapter. That's the onboard SCSI controller, and it is finding the disks. That's actually pretty encouraging. Actually, after looking into this a little more, I opened up computer management, which I may or may not have known existed till about 10 minutes ago. Whenever I was messing with disks back in the day, I always used something like gparted or an Ubuntu Live CD to make partitions and stuff. But on Windows 2000 anyway, you've got computer management and storage, and we can come and look at disk management. And I think disk 0, let's see, trying to figure out what SCSI ID this is target ID 4. So that's the one internal to the machine. That's what this operating system is running on. And then the other one I was looking at, disk E, is one of the disks in the array. So if we look at, he's target ID 0. That is the first disk in the disk array, and it happens to be NTFS formatted. And if we open up my computer, that's this guy. So I was doing something with this, or someone else was. Let's see if there's anything good in here. Not really. So yeah, okay, one disk is working already. So we basically already accomplished our goal. Let's see if we can get another one. So over in administrative tools, there's computer management. That's what I had fired up just a second ago. And we'll look at disk management. And it only sees, well, ignore the CD-ROM, but it only sees 3 disks total. And you'll remember that slot number 2 disk is actually SCSI ID 1. And when we were posting, it was complaining that there's something wrong with the disk at SCSI ID 1. Even though Windows will say there are 4, we only have access to the 3 healthy ones. Hope that makes sense. So what we're going to do is, this also must have had something on it. I've never used this thing. Can I delete that? Come on. I'm trying to figure out how to just format this whole thing. Yeah, this is the one in SCSI ID 2. That is the third disk. This is the disk that I got on eBay. I don't know. Must create a partition on the unused space. Sure. We'll give it drive letter F. And we're going to format it. Let's just do a quick format. Yeah. It just finished formatting. The light turned off. A little confusing. This is SCSI ID 0, 1, and 2. And I keep saying this is disk 1, 2, and 3. But anyway, this is the one that it doesn't like. It thinks something's wrong with this disk, which is very well could be the case. And what do you know? The format's done, and we have our new volume, our new 16.8 gig volume right here. So we have all 3 healthy disks in the mix. I think we're going to leave it there for the moment, because obviously I could keep piling drives in here and expose each one individually up to the max amount of SCSI free available SCSI IDs I have on that controller. But I think this onboard controller is not very sophisticated, or I need more software for it maybe. So ideally, eventually we'll get a SCSI controller that can RAID. I don't even know if this one can, but basically you could pile all the disks in here and do like a RAID level that lets you lose one or whatever, or RAID 0 all of them into one big drive just for fun. I don't think you'd ever do that in real life. This one, off camera, I tried to plug into the machine. The machine won't boot with it, so I need to clean it up and inspect it a little more. And I'm also planning on picking up some other ones that would be fun to play with in the future. So we did it. I'll keep this brief. These things are still running because I want to play around with them, and they're kind of loud. But got this guy working. Nothing seems wrong with it at all. I understand a little bit more about how to interact with it on a simple SCSI controller. This thing is working like a champ. Really happy about that. Don't really know where I'm going to go with this other than getting a RAID set up, basically. I think that would be fun. So yeah, let me know if you have any ideas about what I should do with this stuff, any software you'd like me to see run on it. Maybe we'll get like a MySQL server going, you know, the Windows one, or something. Get this thing doing something off these disks. I think that would be fun. Hope you enjoyed following along. Let me know if you like this Compaq stuff. It's always pretty, it's just different enough from all the other brands that I really enjoy playing with it. But in the meantime, if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. I'm trying to get to 75,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Thanks for following along on this ridiculously long video, and I'll see you in the next one.